uh, in our company, decision make delay because there's not meeting room available, so we need to to uh, do a meeting, but there is no room, meeting room available. So next week, and now we can schedule uh, on Teams. So we depend on the schedule, the people we need, the people. Uh, Availability. Como que eu digo?
Availability. You're right.
Yes, yes,
Availability.
not the meeting room available. So it's easier to organize moments like that. But, uh, for example, a challenge. Why I organized this workshop this week? Because some decisions, I think, it's important to take together personally, big decisions. So when we meet each other, we are together, uh, we build a more confident, not confident, reliable environment. We improve relationships in order to take big, hard decisions. So I decided for that situations, organize workshops or meeting personally to do that. So this talent challenge, how can I say? Uh, there are like I did a course on LinkedIn few months ago about communication online, about body language, digital body language.
Mhm.
It's it's very interesting. Uh, I recommend this course on LinkedIn. So it's por aí.
Okay. How about you guys? What are your main? I think Michelle's got a different answer, right? Most of your communications live, right, Michelle?
Oh, it's depend. With people out of the plant, the unity is with teams, and during the meetings at the plant is a mix. For example, you are in home office. If you are in home office, you connect in a Teams meeting, but all the other guys are in a room like this. I'm home at home with the guys and you in a meeting. And I use a lot of radio. I don't know, is the radio is correct?
Yeah.
The radio for talking with the production. And sometimes we use a lot the WhatsApp. There are groups, for example, I'm here in Goianira, but there are a big team in Toledo. And we use the WhatsApp to send a message or communication. You use the Teams, a lot the Teams for meetings because I'm here and I can participate from the decisions. And sometimes I like to send emails, not with all, but if we talk about anything and they have an agreement, I send this email with this agreement. Oh, this is agreement about this conversation. No, 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 no. I think it's all this. But in a big company, I think the guys, it's like me, in a big company, it's necessary a lot of information. It's a transfer all the time. And during the pandemic, this type of communication was a problem because, for example, I'm here in my office. If the guys is here in Goianira with me, I go to another room and talk with the person. But now they send me an invite. Michelle, please come to this meeting to discussion a problem, but it's a problem for 5 minutes. And they put an invite for 30 minutes. And this, oh, it's like a collapse on the agenda. It's a problem today.
Mhm.
And I feel this a lot because the pandemic situation. The people is out and they wanted to talk with you, but the assumption it's not big, and they put a 30-minute, 20-minute, an hour.
So do you think a telephone call would be more effective?
I think sometimes you can use Teams too, because Teams is a call to the person. Oh, I needed this. Okay, I agree, you agree, and let's go. Okay for you?
Our next one is academic. Are any of you guys doing masters or specializations or doctorates or anything?
I finished my master business administration course in February, and I have a meeting online. My presentation that was online to our teachers and evaluators. Is correct?
Mm-hmm.
Was only online because the pandemic, and was so good, very natural. Was very good, quite tranquilo. How can I say tranquilo? Good,
Yeah, it's easy.
easy.
Easy
It's easy
busy.
for easy busy, easy peasy.
Yeah, easy peasy. Yeah, I think that in the past, and probably a lot of times it's going to come back to this, that idea of defending a dissertation in front of these three people, you know, you had to go there, which sometimes is a problem. And then it's so stressful, you know. And now it's online. It's like, oh, it's anything. It's any normal day, right? Andrea actually had an experience where she was called to be a witness in a court case, and the pandemic's over, but still court is online. You know, it's just more efficient, which I think, you know, that's a nice improvement. Instead of me having to go to some courthouse, sit and wait the whole day, then I can just, you know, you get your invitation, you go in, see the judge for a couple minutes, and then it's over.
I think the people change the way, or I think the way, because in the past, if you're talking about, oh, we will do a workshop in English, but only in a Zoom. Oh, it's not effective. We need to stay together and have the communication. It's not good. But with the pandemic, we learn about this. If you do, you can connect with all the people around the world without a room or a space. I think maybe it's not the same when you think in human contact. But in a pandemic situation, it's not good, the human contact. In this model, this way is effective.
I have to say, as a classroom teacher, because I still teach at Anglo, and there are times I wish the kids could just turn off their camera and microphone. They're in real life, right? But there are times when I'm like, at home, they would just turn off their camera and microphone. and I would not have to see and hear, you know? So there are moments when I actually miss the teaching from home. And back then it would be like, oh, 15 of the cameras are turned off, but I don't have to watch them sleep, right? So like better just turn off the camera, turn off the mic, and I don't have to witness what's happening, you know? I had two girls in class the other day. They were physically passing notes. It was like 1985, you know? Physically passing paper notes to each other. Like, you could have done that on WhatsApp a year ago. Going back in time. And obviously personal communication we talked about a bit ago. More, what's next? Oh, I like this bit. I studied philosophy in university, right? And this type of thinking goes back to the Greek philosophers. The Greeks said that there were three pillars of argument, and they called these ethos, which is the argument of authority, pathos, which is the argument of emotions, and logos, which is the argument of thinking. And what we see in modern thinking is that pathos is the most effective form of communication. Emotional connections and emotional arguments are just more effective. And as much as we wish we could believe that if I give you information, that's good enough. I have true information, I give it to you. And you go, okay, you're right. But that's not how we make decisions in real life. You know? And if the wrong person gives me true information, I won't believe it. No. So what we see is in a lot of modern communication, the idea of making an emotional attachment has become super important. The great example of that from TED Talks is there's always a personal story. The personal story may not be about me, but the person giving the TED Talk is going to say, when I was in Africa, I met a woman in the slums, right? And give you that personal thing, something for you to connect to, something that pulls your heartstrings, something that you sympathize with or see yourself in. If I just tell you, oh, the best way to help African women is to use loan matching. Okay, that's actually true, but loan matching, that doesn't sound that great. And loan matching is a great program. If that person can prove that they are saving money, we match it. We'll loan you, you saved $50 in a month, we'll loan you $50 for your business. $50 for us does not sound great, but $50 in a slum in an African country could be enough to make an initial investment in a house. So loan matching programs are cheap and they're very effective. But without the personal story, why am I going to support it? An appeal to authority is not always a good thing. It should be. I say 9 out of 10 dentists use this toothpaste. Oh, that's good. 90% of the dentists that they talk to use this toothpaste. Right? But appeals to authority are not always good. We were walking in the street the other day and I saw one of these billboards for a university with an actor who I am pretty sure is not university educated because he has been on television since I came to Brazil. So when did he do his university education? And this guy's selling university education? Neymar, my stepson has Neymar deodorant, which I think Neymar probably needs to use deodorant. He's an athlete, he probably needs to use deodorant. On the other hand, I also saw Neymar advertising car batteries. What does Neymar have to do with a car battery? So I used the appeal to authority by having Neymar there, but he's really not an authority about the issue that we're talking about. And that can vary, it can vary sometimes to be quite bad. I'm a fan of Stephen Hawking, but you don't use Stephen Hawking to sell an idea about the way language education works. He was not a language educator. He had strong opinions on just English language education in England, right? He had very strong opinions on it, but that's not correct. That's a failure in thinking. We don't want to force immigrant kids to get their educations in English. We need to do the early life education in their native language. And English should be taught as a second language, as a separate subject. But convincing people that that's the best way to educate a generation of immigrants is difficult. Now, Stephen Hawking, because he's known as a physicist, got brought into that argument. But what does Stephen Hawking know about it? Why do we always quote Albert Einstein about human behavior? He wasn't a behavioral scientist. He was a physicist. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. I love the space program and I love dinosaurs. But if I'm talking to you guys about the space program or dinosaurs, you have to understand Cliff is actually a philosophy major in college. He may know how to run a 1980s television station, but he's not a paleontologist and he's not an astrophysicist. So I like, I have strong opinions about artificial intelligence. But am I really qualified to give my expert opinion about artificial intelligence? Perhaps not. So the argument of authority, the appeal to authority, can be a good thing if you've got good statistics, but it can be a bad thing if you've got bad statistics. And we can make statistics practically look like anything that we want. The Benjamin Disraeli, he was a British prime minister, had this great quote. There are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. And thinking, as I mentioned at the beginning, we wish thinking would work. If we can establish a common ground, as we mentioned in the beginning, if we align our purpose, our values, and our goals with someone, they will accept a logical appeal. They will accept my thinking. If we can't establish the common ground with the person, they're very likely to reject real information. Right? And information, unfortunately, is just not good at convincing people. I may be jumping ahead, but I think it's Simon Sinek that talks a lot about communication is decisions are made in the limbic system. The limbic system is the most primitive part of your brain. It's the reptilian brain. So you're not making decisions with the logical part of your brain, the prefrontal lobe and things. You're making decisions with this basal part of your brain that doesn't make decisions well. Can we get the next one? One more. Oh my. Directly into the hormones. We're going to go through this a little bit quickly. Our basic thing is effective communication requires us. I'm glad I just mentioned the limbic system now. Effective communication requires us to make certain connections with people. And even if I want to make you just remember something, I just want to give you numbers you need to remember. If the chemicals in your audience's brain are wrong, they won't remember. So we want to get the good hormones in the brain. We want to activate the good hormones in the brain, and we want to limit the bad hormones in the brain. We're going to talk about 5 different hormones very quickly. So our good hormone, our first one here is dopamine. Dopamine is famous. Everybody's probably heard of it. I think I've kind of argued a little bit with Michele about this. I have never felt the dopamine rush from exercise. Some people say when they exercise, they get a dopamine rush. But I have never felt that. I think it's probably true because a lot of people talk about it, but it's not from my experience. So how do we get in a presentation, how do we get the dopamine to activate? Curiosity is an excellent way. So if I can ask a good question and build up anticipation, then I can get dopamine functioning in the person's brain. One interesting and easy way to get anticipation is to simply tell the person the structure that you're going to speak in. If I say, I have 3 important things to tell you, you anticipate 3 things. And it's simple. It's an easy tool. Anyone can do it. Asking questions is a great way if it encourages people to think, but we have to be careful with questions. That's a thing Dan Pink says. Maybe Andrea will talk about that later. But if I give the person an opportunity to think, then it can help build anticipation. So a statement like, you'll never guess who I saw downtown. Well, now you want to know. Okay. I'm saying okay too much because I talked about it. Our next one is oxytocin, which you have to be careful saying because oxytocin is a hormone in our brain that's responsible for generosity, bonding, trust. This is the hormone that hugs generate, right? So if you hug your wife or kids or dog, you're getting oxytocin. There is a terrible drug called OxyContin that the word looks almost the same, and it's a highly addictive opiate. So careful when you pronounce it. Oxytocin is the love hormone, the snuggling hormone, and a great way to get it, if you can use imagery, showing pictures of things that make people feel that awe feeling. Why are there always puppies in commercials about fabric softener? Because we look at the puppy and we think, oh, what a cute puppy. It generates the oxytocin in our brain. Putting babies in images generates oxytocin. So in a speech, how can we get it? If I can establish a story about childhood or family, or a story about an important relationship, a mentor that I had, this is naturally going to encourage oxytocin production in the listener's brain. Our third good hormone is endorphins. Wait, Michele, is it endorphins or dopamine that you get from exercise?
Endorphin.
It's endorphins, right? Yeah, this is the runner's high. This is what I meant. I've never felt that. I wish I had. Arnold Schwarzenegger is super positive
Is
about this.
is the same what you feel when you are doing a tattoo, for example? In the first
Really?
moment, yes, in the first moment you feel a lot, but your body, it's like, yeah, how can I say, liberar?
Releases.
Released the endorphin.
Is
And
that
you
why
feel
is
okay.
that why people have like their whole arms and bodies full of tattoos?
Yes.
Like you get addicted to it?
I have 2 tattoos. And in the first moment, it's hurt a lot because it's hurt. It's not a good sensation. But when you go to the time, you feel the endorphin, it is okay. It's normal. It's like you only a sound of dentist.
That's such a wonderful sound. The dentist
Yes.
sound. I don't mean that.
I don't know if the guys have a tattoo, but it's this.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a tattoo. I always use my skin condition as an excuse, but I can't think of anything I want to permanently put on my body.
If you do the first one, the next, it's easy.
Maybe it's the same as when you wax your nose. The first time it hurts, and then after that it seems normal.
And you feel when you run is the same. Your body feel the pain and hurt, and the endorphin goes to the flow, and you stay good. But
Yeah,
it's not permanent like a tattoo.
Yeah, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have felt it because since I started doing CrossFit, I don't have pain when I'm running anymore. Like I don't feel the discomfort that I used to feel. So maybe I have felt it. I just didn't know what it was. So endorphins, we get out of people by having them smile. If they're relaxed, like they're talking to a good friend, it's going to give an endorphin release. If you're good at telling jokes or funny stories, you can do it, but be careful about using humor if it's not in your repertoire, because I sometimes make jokes that no one understands, and then that's bad. So be careful with jokes and humor. Try to stick to a good smile and positive stories. And finally, we want to avoid the bad guys, cortisol and adrenaline. These are stress hormones. They make your audience irritated and critical. If a person has adrenaline and cortisol in their system, they almost can't form good memories. You also, people who have a high cortisol and adrenaline level make bad decisions. So you really have to avoid scaring your audience or worrying them or clearly irritating them. If you're irritating somebody, your communication has already gone too far. But be careful. There was a style of communication back in the 1970s and 80s of trying to scare people. And it's just not effective. You're not going to get people to line up behind you by scaring them. It's better to make them feel like they're part of a group. If I feel like I'm part of your group, then I'm going to get good hormone flows, the snuggle hormone, and belonging is, I think, one of the most powerful communication tools. Ready? No, she's saying about my jokes. Andrea said, no one laughs. I make the joke and then no one laughs. I'm by myself, imagining, well, my dad would have laughed.
But he's learning how to tell jokes. Okay. And here we have an audience. When we give a lecture or we give some presentation, we need to make rapport with our audience, of course. They need to feel comfortable listening to us, and they need to feel themselves on us when we are doing a presentation. Imagining a big audience like this, You need to keep in contact, to link this with these people. Would you like to say something, Cliff?
We have an example of a giant audience here, but remember, the audience of one is also an audience. To an extent, the person you're talking to on WhatsApp in a one-on-one conversation is also an audience. My audience isn't necessarily a group of people trying to judge me. It can be a one-on-one conversation. And on a personal side, when Andrea and I are talking to my stepson, we have to talk to him very differently than we talk to my younger son. The same style of communication, the same types of things don't work. And, you know, two different people basically in the same family, and you have to treat the audience differently if you want to have successful communication. Is this Alan Green or David Green? I forgot Richard Green. I was wrong, altogether wrong.
This one?
Yeah. Richard Green does public speaking training, or rather communication training, right? And he came up with this great communication effectiveness continuum. It's great for me because I'm an English teacher and it's got a preposition joke.